This movie was still riding high in the winds of success from Toy Story 2, so it still had a lot to live up to. And how does it hold up? Well, let's take a look. Monsters Incorporated takes place in a world of monsters, imagine that. Here, the monsters literally use children's screams to power their world, like electricity. Now that's really clever, it gives the monsters a reason to scare kids. Sully, voiced by John Goodman, is the best in the business. And with his buddy Mike, they're about to break the all-time scare record. But in the monster world, little kids are actually incredibly toxic to monsters.
There is nothing more toxic or deadly than a human child. A single touch could kill you.
So of course, wouldn't you know it, a little kid manages to slip into the real world, and the rest of the movie is pretty much Mike and Sully trying to deal with the situation.
As long as it doesn't come near us, we're gonna be okay.
All while dealing with Sully's rival, Randall. So I already mentioned how this movie was Pixar's next movie after Toy Story 2. And Toy Story 2 is so damn good that this one kind of falls by comparison, but in a graceful way. It commits to the 3-act structure a little bit more than previous Pixar films. I can remember being a little kid and laughing at pretty much everything that Mike says and does. And to this day, yeah, I still say he's funny. I will say that I really admire the creativity in this movie. I love the idea of children's screams powering their city. I really like the idea of the government monsters that are kind of like the CDC but for humans. And I really like the idea that kids' closets are literally portals between the monster world and our world. Not only is that really cool and imaginative, but it sets up for a really great chase scene at the end of the movie. Speaking of the end of the movie, there's a little twist about what powers the city. Now I'm not going to dare spoil it if you haven't seen the movie, but I'll just say that I really admire that moral. It's not one that gets said a lot in kids' movies, or any movie in general. And I really love all the monster designs too. I think Jennifer Tilly is probably my favorite one. But honestly, one of my favorite characters is Roz. And nowadays, as an adult, looking at this character, she's the most human out of all of them. I don't know, I can't help but feel I've seen this character in real life before.
Fun-filled evening planned for tonight?
Well, as a matter of fact...
And I'm sure you filed your paperwork correctly, for once. Your stunned silence is very reassuring.
I really like the designs for Randall and Mr. Waternoose too. Again, like I said, this is a very creative movie. Being that they're monsters, it really gives the designers endless possibilities of what they could do with them. Although, watching this again, I do have one question. At one point in the movie, they spot Randall working alone on the scare floor, and they think that he's cheating by trying to boost the number of his scare record. But earlier in the movie, they needed like an entire work floor just to get the thing operational. Are you telling me that he prepped all of that by himself? I mean, it looks like a pretty complicated setup. And it looks like everything's electronic. Wouldn't there be some kind of a record or something of someone using the floor after hours? And even if not, someone would notice that his numbers weren't the same. I don't know, it just seems weird to me that they jumped to the conclusion of him cheating.
It never would have gotten out if you hadn't been cheating last night.
Cheating. Right.
I don't know, I don't have too much more to say about this one. I think it's because it's missing a lot of the heart that Toy Story 1 and 2 had. Now, I'm not saying that Monsters Incorporated is totally devoid of emotion or anything, but I think that the previous Pixar movies had their heart laid out throughout the entire course of the movie, and it was laid pretty thick. I think they packed all the heart in Monsters Incorporated into the last 10-15 minutes of the movie, and it's kind of thin. I don't know, not a lot else to say about this one. It's just much more of a conventional kids movie. Not in a bad way, but just more of a traditional way. I think it's a little unfair to compare it to the previous Pixar films, but it's definitely still worth a look.
Hey, good morning, Metropolis. It's now 5 after the hour of 6 a.m. in the big monster city. Temperature's a balmy 65 degrees, which is good news for you reptiles, and it looks like it's gonna be a perfect day to maybe, hey, just lie in bed, sleep in, or simply
Work out that flab that's hanging over the bed! Get up, Sully!